that front end would have come up for sure. What was that? See what I mean though? I can stay right in the... So I'm going to head out and do the road test portion of this comparison. I will ride each one back to back to back, and it's just going to be kind of like a stream of consciousness about how one feels compared to the other. We'll start with the Ibex because I've been on the KLE most recently. Before I do, because we're going to do part highway and part gravel on today's test, I'm going to add my brake free to my helmet because I always do that when I go on the highway. Also, they sponsored this video, if you couldn't tell. You got this adhesive mount that goes on the back of your helmet. That's been on there for a year. It is showing no signs of coming off. And you have the brake-free unit, which I've charged. It comes in 2 colors. This is the white one. You slap it on the helmet, pops into place, and it is going nowhere. It's very solid. I wear this on and off the road. The purpose of this brake-free is to get a tail light and a brake light up high where drivers can see it, where it catches their attention versus just the very small, very minimal tail light on most bikes, particularly dual sport bikes. So when you're on the highway, the most dangerous thing to you is other drivers. We want to maximize our visibility to decrease their ability to harm us. So the brake free is the answer. There's no app. There's no need to plug this into your bike or to your phone. You literally just turn it on with the button I press on the top. And anytime you stop or slow down, the accelerometer inside this thing detects it and will flash. It's not just useful on the road. This is great to have, particularly if you're like leading a group or just in a group in dusty conditions, which seems to happen to us a lot when we ride off-road in the summer because you can lose the person in front of you pretty easily, but this light will cut through some of that dust. So the person behind you is a lot less likely to rear-end you if you got one of these on top of your helmet shining brightly through the dust. You can save $10 if you use promo code Dork on the road. They've been sponsoring the channel for a year. They've been great to work with. I think it's a great product. I have had 0 problems with mine. The battery lasts forever. And I'm super thankful to be working with them. So thank you to Brake Free for sponsoring this video. Let's go do the road test. Now that we're on the road, and sorry about the wind noise, it'll get better when we get to the off-road section, but not a lot I can do about it. I can crank this windscreen up, which I forgot to mention earlier, this is the tall windscreen, so the stock screen is actually quite a bit shorter. The first thing I notice when I get on this bike after having ridden the other 2 recently is it feels the biggest. Now, it doesn't feel big. Don't hear me saying it feels big, but it definitely feels like a smaller version of an Africa Twin. I've compared it to the Tenere, but it doesn't feel like the Tenere in the cockpit. It's definitely more like an AT, something with a little bit wider sort of chest area, as it were. But I got a lot of good wind protection. My legs are not in the wind at all. It's a very comfortable riding position. I like this bike a lot. I have since the first time I test rode it. I was dying to get my hands on one. In terms of cruising, and let's, 65 is whatever. They can all do that. So let's do 75 for a minute. And the interesting thing here, and you'll see it when we get on the other bike, is it's at 6,500 RPMs at 75 miles an hour, which is, I think, higher than the KLE is at about the same speed, but it does not feel like it's working hard. It feels fine. The KLE feels like it's working very hard. Now, it could be because this bike is way more broken in, I don't know. But it'll cruise comfortably at 75 all day. This is very comfortable to cruise on. I've ridden it. We rode all the way to Christmas Valley, which is like a 3.5-hour ride for the start of the Oregon BDR last year, and then I rode home from Mount Hood, which is another 3 hours. You could road trip this. You could road trip all of them. Again, we're splitting hairs here, but this one feels very comfortable at speed, just cruising. It doesn't feel like it's working its ass off. I don't feel a lot of vibration. I did keep the stock bar weights, or at least the stock bar ends, so that's part of it. And you can look at the specs all day, but today we're talking about what it feels like to ride all 3. So let's do an acceleration test. That's not a cop, we're good. 0 to 60, that was 0 to 60. This one has, I think, a decent amount of low end, but it definitely drops off as you get into the higher RPMs in terms of pull from the engine. But it's very stable, as you can see. I can cruise hands-free, no problem. All right, I want to do a dead stop acceleration test for you, and then maybe top speed. Let's see if we can hit it by the end of this road. Oh, and I'm not freaking Marc Marquez, so I'm just gonna go as fast as I feel comfortable. So it's not a scientific test. 3, 2, 1, go. What was that? Weird. Oh, it's fogging up my helmet bad. I've done 90 on one of these, but you need a long stretch to get there. So you're comfortable at 70, 75. You can accelerate to 85 pretty easily. So freewaying is totally doable. But like cruising at 75 right now, it feels very comfortable. Very smooth shifting transmission. I like the levers on this one a lot. They're adjustable. They are not adjustable on the KLE. They are on 390. The switches and all the hardware stuff on this one feels, I'm going to say it, it's not what you're thinking, but it does feel slightly cheaper. It's just thinner plastic, like this rocker switch, and the four-way switch over here is just not as solid as what you get. The KLE probably has the best, most solid feeling controls in the cockpit, other than the cheap levers. And the 390 is a little bit better, but definitely some cheap-ish feeling. Now, that's not to say the fit and finish of this bike isn't good, because it is. It's fantastic. I've always said if you told me it was a Yamaha, I'd believe you. God, that engine just sounds so good. It's so much better than the other two. They drive me nuts by comparison. Pavement ends, here we go. So I want to show you as we ride off of the end of where the pavement ends. I'm just going to hold down this button right here. And it's in off-road mode. Traction control off. ABS is off, which means I can do this. Which is awesome. Yeah, it's definitely easier to break that rear end loose on this one, I feel like. Also, I had a hell of a time getting the KLE to break loose. This does not have that problem. And it sounds better. Oh yeah! Standing position is great on this, and it's stock. I have not raised the bars. So you got a slight bend, which is good. You need that. You don't want to be straight, razor straight up and down, ramrod straight, as it were. Look at this bird just riding the thermals. Let's see how, like, intervene the traction control is. I haven't really messed with it much. Oh, okay. It's very intervene. Yeah, it literally killed the bike. So it does something. It does something. Sometimes, that's the other thing I don't like about this bike is sometimes the TC goes off and sometimes it doesn't. There it did. You gotta pay attention to it. Yeah, immediate difference. Yeah, very different. All of a sudden. Weird how that works. There's nothing crazy difficult on this road, so don't get too excited. It's just a gravel road with some loose sections of stuff. We can try a little slow, speedy stuff up here, I think. We'll find a good spot for that. They're logging down here, but let's just say if I want to go like in a circle, how slowly can I do it without falling over? Whew. Actually, that's no good test because I'm just not good at balancing today. How slow can we go? Let's see. This is the real test, I feel like, of a bike like this, is because, you know, anyone can ride fast until you run out of skill or just your luck runs out, but riding slow is the actual difficult part of off-road riding. And if you can go slow and walk your bike up a difficult section, feeding power in and out as you need it, then you can get through almost anything versus just hammering your way through and hoping for the best. And I think a bike, so an adventure bike, I'm always complaining about low-end torque, but I need to know that I can do that. If I get into a really weird situation, I can't tell what's happening. You know, you can't see far enough ahead or whatever, it's just gnarly. You gotta take it one piece at a time. I need to know I can kind of crawl up and then get enough power to get up and over things repeatedly. And this has plenty of low down torque for that, which I like. And at a low RPM, which is important because when we get out here on the orange bike, you're gonna see it's a whole different animal because I have to rev the hell out of the engine so that there's power, because there's just no power at the very low end on that. It's a blast to cruise at high speed or, you know, unreasonably high speed on a gravel road. It's great traction, very stable, planted, confidence inspiring. It's easy to throw around when you need to. It does feel maybe a little more sluggish just owing to where the weight is with the bigger tank up top when you're going into corners like this than the other two, but it's such a minimal difference. It's like one of those things where if you bought the bike and rode it, you would never know that it felt a little bit more sluggish. Y'all are asking me to split hairs and they're just very similar. Like, they're designed to be. They're for the same person with like minor variations. The 390's like that same person who wants to go a little faster. Oh, I smell cow manure. Shocking. No, I know. Let's do like a slow speed turnaround at the end here. So let's blast down this and we can get almost 60, I think. Yeah, easily. So 6th gear on the gravel. Woo! Let's go, baby. Probably should have shut my visor. It's cold. Yeah, 70 on gravel, no big deal. I'm in the loose part because I'm stupid. Yeah! It's an all-day BDR bike, baby. I could go up and over this. Oh, it's much easier to slide the ass sideways on this. I could go over this once. Wouldn't make for a very good video, because I wouldn't be able to ride the other two because I'd be dead. What about this stupid? This is dumb. Very muddy. Oh, yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever. With the TC off, it's whatever. All right, I'm gonna head back and get the 390. Let's go. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. Someone's gonna rake me over the coals. I bet the comment's already typed, but the Ibex has stock tubeless tires and wheels that go with tubeless tires. None of the other two do not. They are tubed. So if that's a big deal to you, and to a lot of people it is, because you don't have to take the tire off. If you get something stuck in it, you can just plug it and keep riding. Versus a tube, you got to take the wheel off and then take the tire halfway off. It is expensive to add tubeless tires to a bike that doesn't have them, because you got to buy a whole new wheel set. The Ibex comes with that stuff stock. So not only is it the cheapest, but it's also the one with the tubeless tires, which is a major plus in its column for a lot of people. I go either way. Like, I don't want to change the tire. Like, it's nice to be able to plug it, but I'm not going to make a bike buying decision based on that, but a lot of people will. So there you go. Bear it in mind. You still need to know how to change your tire and put a tube in, because if you tear a sidewall or dent a rim, your tubeless setup isn't going to work anymore, and you're going to have to know how to put a tube in. But, you know, the chances of that happening are a lot less than just getting a simple puncture. Anyway, let's go get the 390. Okay, first impression after swapping to the 390. One, you can hear the wind noise, I think, is louder. Two, it's easily the least comfortable of the three bikes. Immediately apparent. It just feels harder and stiffer. And it's a thumper, so the vibration is very different. It's a lot more vibey in the hands, in the feet, and on your butt. On the Ibex, I wasn't really feeling much vibration at all. And then the other thing I noticed right away, and also it started raining again, so that doesn't help, is at highway speeds, at 60, 65, 75, this bike feels like you're asking it to do something it's not supposed to do. It feels like it doesn't want to do it. It's like, I'll do it, but it sucks. I'm working very hard. And maybe, again, same thing. This bike doesn't have as many miles as the other, so maybe it will smooth out some as it works its way in. But right now, this bike does not feel like it is comfortable or wants to be going 75 miles an hour. And so if I have to go multiple hours at that speed, this is not going to be my first choice. However, it feels the smallest and it feels the lightest of the three, easily. It feels way more like a dual sport, which, you know, there is a dual sport version of this. It reminds me more of the 300L Rally than of any adventure bike, because this is a dual sport bike, or more accurately, the dual sport bike is an enduro version of this. The point is, it's got the fairing and the tower and the bigger tank, but at its heart, it is a single cylinder thumper, and that is what it feels like. So this is much more akin to riding a DRZ or something on the highway with, it's just super wound out, except this has a 6th gear, obviously, but it just doesn't like it. However, you'll notice, you probably just saw it, I think it's faster. It's definitely the fastest of the three, on and off road, for sure. And the thing that annoys me about this bike is that the power delivery is so inconsistent. You have so much more power at a higher RPM, but there are some advantages to that, one of which is if you could just stay in the power band, you have maximum power all the time. You have a choice, right? You can do something about it. And with the others, it's kind of the same amount of power the whole time. I think probably the Ibex is the most linear power delivery, and then the KLE is pretty good, but it definitely kicks in about 3,500. You've got less slow down. It kind of stays the same, at least. And I'm no expert on frickin' torque curves and power curves, but damn, the weather was getting so much nicer. I picked today for this because I wasn't gonna have to deal with this shit. Oh well, it is what it is. I'm not gonna stop now. I gotta get them back to back to back, so suffer with me. All right, again, just doing my best here. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that front end would have come up for sure. You see what I mean though? I can stay right in the power. Yeah. Yeah, and it's still accelerating. The Ibex was done right now.
You couldn't feel it anyway. Yeah, you're gonna have to trust me, but yeah, there was a 9 there. And it still had more to give. I just need a lot more road, and it's raining and shitty, and I don't want it. I'm just not gonna do it right now, sorry. But this is the fastest of the 3. Fastest, least comfortable, lightest feeling. It is the lightest by about 30, 40 pounds, depending on which one you're comparing it to. But if you're in the wrong gear, you're getting no power. So you shift this thing a lot more, and you gotta work the clutch a lot more. It's very revvy. Some of the vibiness in terms of, you know, on a long highway ride, some of the disadvantage there is mitigated by the ability to add cruise control, which you can also probably do to the KLE, but it's aftermarket, so I'm not like gonna count it as like standard feature. But it's super vibey at 75, but with cruise control, you can at least take your hands off the bars once in a while so they don't go numb, versus without it, your right arm has just gotta be on there the whole time. The engine sound of this thing is just, that's like a lawnmower, dude. Which makes sense because the lawnmower is a single cylinder also. It shifts very smoothly, got the adjustable lever, like I said. This windscreen is not adjustable. Very easy to flick around this one. It's very easy to move around on the seat. I can get up a lot farther than I can on the KLE and the Ibex. It's just more dual sporty top to bottom. It feels more like a hybrid between a dual sport and an adventure bike. So here we are on the gravel, so you can change this on the fly, like that, off-road, and I'm in off-road, just like that. And now I can do this. I can slide the rear. But let me show you, there's actually 2 ways to do it. So 1, you go over, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's just say we were in street. 5, 6, you could go down. So 5, 6, 7, 8 button presses, or you can set the shortcuts. And in my experience, it loses the memory all the time, so it's why I don't like include it as like a huge like an end all be all, but it does do it right now. I can just press up, which I have set to ride modes. It goes right to the switch. I can go up 1 and press enter, but I still have to, no, and it backs me out. So that's much fewer. So I'm in street right now. Let's go to off-road. Up, twice. I could go down once. Over. Now I'm in off-road mode. Let's see how this one breaks loose. Have to give it a lot of gas. Let's try the traction control test. That was fun. So we're gonna put it in street mode. Let's see how aggressive the traction control is in street mode. Yeah, wow. Well, it didn't kill it, but it's definitely like, you can tell when you forget to switch it. Anyway, back to off-road. So ABS off, circle test over here like we did. But let's go to my good side this time. Actually, we probably should make it the same and go to my bad side still. Okay, definitely bent over farther even with the bar risers. But see what I'm trying to, I have to keep the revs up and use the clutch more. You know, maybe this point is not as compelling as I think it is. Okay, let's try to just crawl slowly. Yeah, I can't just use the throttle. See, this is how much RPMs I need to move right now. Oh, almost dropped it. My foot got stuck on the peg. Let's try again. Yeah, it's just harder to go slow. Try to drag the rear. That's a little better. But, as you can see, it's totally doable. So it's 100% a personal preference thing. And you could definitely get used to doing it on this bike. It does still flame out sometimes, but nowhere near like that 390 Enduro did before I got the recall done. So it's better, but when you're throttling off and back on, sometimes you'll lose it. Yeah, she's a lot easier to move around on though. Definitely just a more dual sporty seat. Yep. Yep. But if you want to ride off-road fast, this is going to be the best bike for that. If you're going to stay in the revs, keep it going, haul ass, blast up things, this is going to be a great bike for that. It's the most capable. Like, I don't think that's a question. It's got the best suspension, the most adjustability, and it's the lightest bike. It's designed to be the most capable. It's also the least comfortable of the 3, and it's not close. This does not feel like a street bike. It feels like a dual sport. It feels like a more of a dirt bike, more of a dual sport aesthetic with the vibration and just everything, the seating position, the super hard seat, all of that. And once you get used to it, like, I'm not gonna have any problem riding this. I just like it better when I've got more power down low than I do with this. There's just a definite point where it goes from meh, like that, like it just, you start feeling it a lot more. And you can feel it surge forward at 6,000. I really feel like you can. Yeah, narrow between the legs, easy to ride, easy to control, easy to get into the ready position. It's a good bike to ride fast if that's what you want to do, but it is not comfortable, so you got to think about what you want. It likes the highway the least, but it will do it. It's all about priorities, and these are the hairs we're splitting because they're very similar bikes. Anyway, let's go turn around and we'll get the KLE and then we'll get out of the damn cold and rain. That's what I do for you guys. This is science. I gotta go through the muddy shit for you, so I didn't do that last time. Or I gotta do that every bike now. Yeah, I'm happier in that stuff on this bike. If that tells you anything. I just feel like it's easier to control when the back starts moving on its own. Anyway, on to the KLE. I tend to remember things on the way back. Before I forget, there's a reasonably sized consideration that I haven't talked about that has nothing to do with riding the bikes, and that is reliability and dealer support. So obviously, in terms of both reliability and dealer support, I think the Kawasaki is going to be the best. You know, if you're worried about a new bike design, never buy a new bike. That 500 engine's been around for a while. There's nothing new about it. So it's a proven platform. It's reliable. There's a ton of Kawasaki dealers, and it's Japanese engineering. That thing is, it's going to be rock solid. CFMoto is a question mark, but I've heard zero things, and those things have been out for a few years now. Nobody's talking about common issues or having trouble with them breaking down all the time. Well, nothing major. I've heard like cosmetic things, but I have to hear something a few times before I start to think it's a trend versus just like one guy got a bad one. But that's also not a new engine. They had it in their 450 street bikes. And dealer support is going to be smaller. There's less CFMoto motorcycle dealers. There's a lot of CFMoto dealers. They don't all have motorcycles. And it's a Chinese bike, so you got to think about that. And then there's the KTM, which KTMs, notoriously, their reputation is they're not as reliable. However, a lot of that is because you're talking about the high-performance, high-strung, high-maintenance machines, so they're just under a lot more stress. And this is not that. This is not a high-performance, high-maintenance machine. It's got a decent oil change interval. It's not like a super high compression ratio, I don't think. And this machine is not built in Austria, it's built in India. I don't know, I'm not gonna say, yeah, the KTM is definitely the least reliable. I mean, I will say it's gonna be less reliable than a Japanese bike because everything is. But I'm not saying that because it's a KTM, I'm saying that because it's not Japanese. KTM makes questionable decisions sometimes, like making camshafts out of Swiss cheese, but as far as I could tell, there's nothing crazy huge like those ongoing issues you see with the old 790s and 890s that are with this. So, grain of salt it, but it is a consideration, and whichever dealership is closer to you, where you're going to be able to get service and parts, is important. I will say KTM right now is doing their extended warranty thing on every bike except the 500 EXCF and a couple others, but this one is included, so if you do your maintenance at the dealership, which is not cheap, but I think my first oil change on my 790 at the dealership was almost $400. But if you do your maintenance at the dealership, they'll extend your warranty 2 more years. So if you're concerned, you get a 4-year warranty with this, so long as you commit to taking your bike to the dealership for services once a year. Your proximity to your local dealer may be a factor there as to how possible and likely that is that you're going to do that. But anyway, those are things to consider. And in that category, I think the Kawasaki wins. And the other two, I would say, in my mind, are probably pretty equal just because there's a lot of unknowns. And the Kawasaki is a definite known. So anyway, let's go get the KLE. Okay, here we are on the KLE500. I hope you're enjoying the very fickle Oregon weather. It's been about 15 minutes since the last time we were here, maybe 20. So immediately, what I notice about this bike after riding the other two, it is so flickable. It's very nimble feeling, it's very narrow feeling. I do think it feels more narrow than the 390, though not by a lot. It's also one of the most stable. It's got the longest wheelbase. So it's at $6,000 at 65, and it's definitely working. It's not, I wouldn't say it's comfortable. It's definitely a hell of a lot smoother than the 390. But if you want to go up to 75, and you can, easily. It's a little bit lower RPM, 6,400 maybe. But I do feel like it works harder. The engine feels like it's working harder. That is purely subjective and 100% butt dyno, and it may be objectively untrue, but That's what I feel right now. Definitely down in this bike in a way that I don't feel on the other two, or like I said before, where you're up on top of it. You're sitting lower because the ground clearance is so much lower. I believe the seat height is lower. I'd have to look it up. But this bike feels the smoothest of the three. It's the easiest to ride of the three, based on my experience thus far. I think it's the most forgiving. It's got the least complications, and it's going to be not the most comfortable, but the most forgiving of the three, for sure. It's got the nimble, light, not so top-heavy-ish, and I'm not calling the Ibex top-heavy, I'm saying it's the top-heaviest of the three. It feels a little bit more nimble and a little bit lower center of gravity. Again, you're not as high up, that's part of it, than the Ibex and the 390. This is the bike, I think, if you were like, which of the three should I get for my spouse, my husband, my wife, my kid, my brother, whomever you're trying to put on a bike for the first time, I would say this one. This is the bike I would start with, of the three. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Ibex. I wouldn't put them on the 390. You can, and I know I put it at the top of my tier list of bikes for beginners, but that was before I'd ridden it. It's still going to be high up there. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're not asking me to say if one sucks and one is amazing and there's that much difference. You're asking me which is better, and if I had to choose, this is the bike I would put a new rider on every time. It is just very smooth and easy to ride. It's very, very comfortable and comforting. The seat is pretty hard, but it's not as bad as the 390. It's pretty close though. I mean, you're talking one's a 2 and one's a 3 on the scale of 1 to 10 comfort. Maybe not that bad. One's a 4 and one's a 5. Okay, let's do our 0 to 60 test. Right here. Turn the turn signal off, that's helpful. It's so much easier to get your feet down. This bike is just a lot easier to handle. It just really is, than the other two. All right, let's go. Yeah, that front end would have come up for sure. What's that? See what I mean though? I can stay right in the, I've got more. I'm not revving it all the way out. It is still in break-in, so I'm trying to be nice to it, but yeah, the 390 is definitely the fastest. It's pretty close though. All right, we're not gonna break this one. It's not mine. We'll be nicer to it. We're not being nice to it, but they're gonna change the oil before they sell it, so you're good. Much has been made of the ground clearance on this bike. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter, because it does. It's almost 2 inches lower than the Ibex, which is about 2 inches lower than the 390, somewhere in there. So this is significantly lower than the 390, and I don't know if you saw my video where I took it on the trails, but I easily bounced the skid plate off the ground going off a jump that was maybe a foot high. So yeah, clearance is going to be an issue, but people they're way overblowing it, because that's not what this bike is for. This is a great commuter bike. This is a great first bike. This is a great, I want to take my camping gear and go somewhere a few hours away and do some light off-road to get there, some gravel road, some forest road. Do I want to be ripping this out through the sand and the giant chunky rocks and stuff? I don't want to be. I would, but you're definitely going to bounce the skid plate off the ground a lot doing that. The suspension's not adjustable. It's the softest of the three. This is just a lot more new rider friendly, which, if you consider that, I think what they set out to do was capture that new rider, right? They want to get them into their Kawasaki ecosystem. So, you know, if you're trying to build the perfect first adventure bike for the types of adventures that new adventure riders go on, and that's the other thing some of y'all armchair frickin' Graham Jarvises need to understand, is that the stuff you're saying it can't do is not stuff that people are buying it are gonna do. You're trying to judge a Toyota Corolla by Corvette standards, and it doesn't make sense. Don't do that. Yes, objectively it's less capable, but does it matter? I'm not gonna put a new rider on an 890, even though it's the most capable. They'll kill themselves. But they could handle this, and they could get out there and experience off-road riding, experience light off-road. This bike will do everything. I took it on some easy single track, took it off a few jumps, I took it up in the woods. I got lost up there and managed to work my way out. I've done to the edge of what a new rider is probably gonna do in their first few years of riding on this bike easily. It's easy. And yes, the ground clearance is low. Yes, I did slam it on the ground, but it didn't break it. It was fine. So with a decent skid plate, even that sort of disadvantage is mitigatable, because you're not going to be banging it off rocks all day. It's going to be a once in a while thing. But this bike is exceptionally easy to ride, very forgiving, and it's super stable and planted. The others, I'm not saying the others aren't, but this one definitely feels the most stable. when you're doing off-road stuff, for sure. Doesn't get the wibble wobbles as much as the other two do with a little bit shorter wheelbase. It's not a massive difference. Nothing is on these bikes, but yeah. I will tell you, I always feel like I do not have enough power at all times on this bike. It doesn't seem to matter what gear I'm in. It's just, I just can't get enough power. But that's me, again, someone who wants to go a little faster than a new rider is going to want to, I'm assuming. So right now, in my head, this is the best bike for a new rider, but I don't think it's one that an experienced rider is going to be super happy with. Unless you just don't want to do anything crazy, and then it doesn't matter. Any of them would work. Okay, let's get up here to the gravel and show you how I turn the ABS off. No modes on this, so no TC to worry about. But you do want to turn the ABS off. Yeah, because it's very aggressive, as you can see. So you push the button, it starts to blink, and then you hold it down, and now it's off. Ta-da! Oh, okay, well, that's a lot easier to break loose than last time I did this. Interesting. Well, maybe I'm revving it out more. I'm less gingerly. Let's talk about standing position. Yeah, this one is, I think, the most comfortable in stock position without any changes for standing up. It really is very comfortable to stand up on. Clearly designed for that. It's the narrowest. It feels the nimblest. The easiest to learn those fundamentals. The bars are in a good place. Yes, it's very comfortable. In fact, I don't have to bend my knees or my back at all, which is bad, actually. That's going to put you in a bad habit, but it's the most comfortable. So get your elbows out, get down, ride it out. I'm just making this on the fly, by the way, but I want to be consistent. So if you're like, ooh, these are comprehensive battery of tests due for every bike. No, I totally just made it up on the first one. So don't take this as gospel. All right. There's a free TV back here, by the way. Okay, actually, this needs more gas than I thought. Can we walk it? Yeah, it definitely not right off the hop. I definitely have to leave the throttle open and manage the clutch, more like the 390, honestly. But it's very balanced. I can stop and go again. Yeah, I can balance for a few seconds, or half a second anyway. Yeah, it's the easiest to ride. I think it's the easiest to ride off-road too. For a new rider. It's not the most capable, but it is so easy to ride. And then you get out here on this stuff and it is just, look, it's barely wobbling at all. Like, it's just a very stable bike. I keep coming back to that, but it's just true. Oh, these tires are the worst of the three. They're not terrible. They're just the worst tires. In our test group today. Yeah, I just really struggle to find the power band on this. Yeah, this one's got the worst suspension too. But it'll be the most comfortable then for everything. It's just gonna be the least capable of accepting your giant bumps and stuff that you're gonna come across. Yeah, I just feel so much farther back than the other bike. It feels like the dash and stuff is a lot closer than it is on this. This one I definitely feel like I'm kind of behind the action. Oh yeah, but it'll do that. All right, through the mud with the worst tires. What gear are we in, 5th? Oh my God, I was doing that in 5th? That's crazy. Oh yeah, a little sideways at the end there. Ooh. After riding all three of these back to back, I'm not gonna give you a 20-minute conclusion. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. What each one I think is best for if you're trying to pick, because grain of salt, because they're all very similar, and I don't think there's no deal breakers here. One is not gonna be awful compared to another for any type of rider, period. So if there's one you just like better, just get it, because they all do the same damn thing. They all have trade-offs. They're all gonna have things that you like and don't like. They're all gonna have strengths and weaknesses, but we're talking a very narrow band, or 10% difference in the grand scheme of things between these bikes in any various category, okay? The most capable and fastest and best off-road is the 390. However, it's the least comfortable, both on the highway and even riding off-road. If you wanna ride aggressively, that's the bike to get. But it's not as easy to ride and it's not as comfortable to ride as the other two. The other two are much easier to ride and they're much more comfortable. The most comfortable bike is the Ibex. You got more wind protection. The riding position is very comfortable. It just feels better. It's working less hard at highway speeds. It's much nicer on the highway. It's nicer than this on the highway and much nicer than the 390 on the highway, on the freeway at those speeds. But you can't add cruise control. You know, there's question marks, of course, about dealer support and all that, just depending on how close you are to a CFMoto dealer. It's not a Japanese bike. And it's definitely top heavier. It's not top heavy, and I don't care. Like, that's not a deal breaker in any way, but if you're thinking about the three, it's probably the least nimble. The Ibex is the least nimble. This one's just so flickable. But it is pretty stable and planted. It's a very easy bike to ride. The 390 is probably the most fun to ride aggressively. I would say the 450, the Ibex, is the most fun to ride day to day. Riding around town, I like the Ibex better. It's more fun. It's because it's just a blend of comfort and kind of responsiveness. I really like that bike a lot. So that's who it's best for. It's the most comfortable and probably the best all-arounder. And then we have the KLE500, which I think is the most stable and forgiving. It's the best bike for a new rider. And that's kind of obvious when you look at the specs, particularly that much maligned ground clearance that y'all are complaining about constantly. It's obviously not designed to do the most crazy hardcore off-road stuff. It's not designed to go up and down 1-foot ledges. It's not designed to be jumped or taken on hard enduro trails or ridden up super steep single tracks and hill climbs. It's designed for light off-roading. It's designed for the types of off-road riding that new riders will do, and I think this bike is great at that. And it's very forgiving, it's not surprising, it's very stable and planted, it's a very comfortable bike to learn on. Now, I still think if you're trying to learn off-road, you're better off on a dual sport, but as a first adventure bike or a first motorcycle, which definitely I don't think the 390 is the best first motorcycle, it's fine, this is a way better first motorcycle. So both first motorcycle and first adventure bike, I think the KLE500 is where it's at. And it's also going to be the most reliable. It feels the most well-built. It's the smoothest and just most confidence-inspiring of the three. Objectively, they all have their strengths. Subjectively, for me personally, the KLE is my least favorite. Just because I want to go faster, and I just cannot find, the power's fine. It's fine top to bottom, but I want more than fine. I want more than fine. You can go fast. Oh, hold on. Yeah, it's just the 390 is just more exciting to ride, and the Ibex just sounds better. So my favorite, well, I'm torn. It depends on what you're trying to do. For me, I always lean towards off-road capability, so I like that 390 a lot. I like riding it off-road. I like the way it feels. I like the fact that it feels like a dual sport with a big tank and a fairing. I hate the engine character and sound, so I hate that I like riding it so much, but I don't swing my leg over and go, oh yeah, like I do when I fire up the Ibex and listen to that exhaust. It's just like, ugh. At least it's fun to ride off-road. It's like it has a great personality, but it is ugly. That's a lot. That's probably a very long video. So I appreciate y'all sticking with me this whole time. I appreciate Break Free for sponsoring this video and the channel. And you know, this isn't my usual, let's run down all the stats in a very subjective way, because this took multiple hours just doing the riding part. I can't imagine doing that on top of the other. So in terms of how it feels to ride each one, these are my thoughts and opinions. If you want to compare the specs and make a decision based on that, you're going to literally just type that into Google and it'll tell you. So you don't need me for that. You need me to tell you what it feels like to ride them all compared to each other back to back when it's actually fresh, and that's what we've done today. So if you liked the video or if it was useful, please hit the like button, and if you don't like the video, hit the like button to signify that you like not liking my stuff. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. There will be a full review of the KLE500 coming very soon, because I only have it for another week. But for now, and as always, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Oh, thank you. Turn the ABS back on. Apparently I have to stop to do that. Okay. Oh, thank you.
Excellent!